My name is Charisse Jack. I'm joined with my colleague Sonia Perrick. We lead teams at Symphony RetailAI who work directly with our clients on artificial intelligence and making data-driven decisions. We are excited to be here with you today to talk about how we've seen AI enable customer-centric business transformation. Given that our experiences are shaped by interactions with the retailers and CPG clients that we work with on a day-to-day basis, we're going to tackle this topic from a business perspective versus a purely technology angle. Sonia, I'll turn it over to you to go ahead and get us started.
Thanks, Charisse. Well, I've been in this industry for over 20 years and I've seen many different trends, but what is going on today is, I have to say, is quite unique. There are several forces at play today. With the increase in shopping via digital channels, we're gathering more data types than we have ever seen before. Thanks to technology, the shoppers are also leaving us a trail of data that tells us where they've shopped, when they've shopped, what they've bought, and most importantly, what they've stopped buying. Now, on top of that, our customers are demanding a higher level of service, and they're demanding more personalized service. They expect the retailers to know them, to know how they like to shop and what they like to buy. That requires using the data that they create to really better understand how to serve them. Now, everyone is also able to comparison shop with ease. I'm sure we've all done this and appreciated it. No more getting into your car and driving from store to store. We can all check prices and even in-stock availability with just a few clicks. And on the retail side, technologies help to make more information about our competitors available. So as retailers, you can easily see where you're getting beat and where you're winning. And then lastly, I'd say where we've also seen new business models driven by technology emerge in the marketplace. So in food and grocery today, we'd be hard-pressed to ignore companies like Instacart or to think that DoorDash is not taking a share of our shoppers' wallets. Despite all these changes, a focus on sales and the bottom line growth remains a priority. It's quite a tall order, to say the least. So there's more competition, more data, and with all of that, AI is absolutely necessary to develop the meaningful and actionable analytics needed to drive shopper engagement, ultimately helping you move the bottom line. So we have the market forces, and on top of that today, we've also got COVID-19. With the COVID-19 pandemic, the business environment has become, if you can imagine, even tougher, right? As we deal with massive fluctuations in demand for specific products, shortages, production slowdowns when we have outbreaks, the need to have information you can trust for decision-making is even stronger than it's ever been before. Sales are far from predictable these days, and we're having to make more changes in pricing, more changes in promotions, in placement of the product, and the list goes on. More changes means more decisions to make, and you can either rely on your instinct or you can rely on information. But I'd say that given the unprecedented times we live in, the years of experience that we've all often relied on just may not be as valuable as they've been for us in the past. We need data, we need information. The problem is that it's just not easy to always access or find it. So what's going on in the marketplace as a result? Well, a recent CGT survey provides some interesting results. 59% of surveyed retailers and 52% of surveyed CPGs are making changes to invest in resources and in their approach towards analytics. Their top priorities are demand forecasting, consumer insights, and inventory planning. It's clear our industry sees the importance of data-driven decision-making now more than ever. It's also important to note that consumer insights is now number 2 for both these groups. Both retailers and CPGs feel the growing importance to understand the ever-changing consumer behavior. We have to be able to better predict potential shopper changes and to react to those changes more quickly. AI is, again, going to be the helpful answer here.
Great point, Sonia. Retailers are definitely thinking differently about analytics and insights. And not only are they thinking differently, but they're evolving. Historically, retail organizations, they had a heavy reliance on traditional analytics. They focused on the reports and spreadsheets that provided them with the information they needed to understand what happened. Then many retailers, they gravitated towards BI tools. They did this so they could more easily visualize or assess what happened and perhaps why it happened. However, given the challenges that fast-moving consumer good retailers and CPG companies are facing today, and it's all of the things you just talked about, Sonia, artificial intelligence really is the best answer to provide the speed and accuracy that organizations need to not only keep up with the ever-changing consumer, but also to stay ahead of the competition. You know, in our interactions with clients, we see that AI puts people on equal footing. It helps them so they can more effectively address the most complex problems that they're all facing. If you look at it from the point of view of the individuals within the organization, those who are less analytically inclined, they're benefiting from AI to do the heavy lifting to provide prescriptive insights and predictive analytics. On the other end of the spectrum, you've got those who are already analytically inclined, and they used to invest a lot of their time to solve these complex problems, but they're also finding that they can benefit from AI. So the real exponential growth, it comes when experienced and innovative retail professionals can use AI to complement and not replace their existing skill sets. So how do you achieve that exponential growth? Well, we've seen our clients use AI to drive revenue and margin growth, largely focused on making decisions related to the 6 key category and supply chain management areas that you see listed here. Our clients have used AI on everything from understanding the shopper to helping with decisions across the P's of category management to ensuring they can anticipate demand. All of these are important. They're important in driving a shopper engagement, and we know that incorporating AI can make a huge difference, not only in terms of speed to insight, but also in driving measurable value for the organization. And we like to make it a point to spend time on demonstrating measurable impact because it really convinces any potential naysayers in terms of the type of high impact value that can really be achieved. Today we're going to focus mainly on shopper insights. We'll touch a little bit on promotions as well. You know, shopper insights provides a really interesting use case for artificial intelligence because AI is not commonly incorporated in legacy shopper insight models. However, we've seen AI play a key role in helping to address different situations related to understanding the shopper.
Yeah, Charisse, I'm glad you talked about there being 6 areas where you can use AI. We've worked with clients and seen all 6 of these areas in action, but for today, we wanted to share 4 examples where we've seen our clients working with AI and we've witnessed firsthand the benefits that it brings. So note that while all 4 of these examples are based on our direct experience, we have disguised the product names and the data in order to maintain our client confidentiality. We'll start with an example of a typical Monday morning. In this case, AI brings prescriptive insights and recommendations that streamline that Monday analysis that you have to do and may actually make it worth getting out of bed to do it. Our second example, we'll talk about the essential questions that category managers deal with every day. We'll share an example of how AI provides more actionable insights that drive better shopper engagement. And then our third example, this one is really rather unique. It's a situation where we let the data tell us what was happening, so we used AI to identify a pattern of customer behavior, which frankly would have been undetectable to the human eye. And this allowed us to get ahead of the trend and address these shoppers before it was too late. And then our fourth example focuses on top-to-top meetings where retailers and vendors came together and utilized AI to drive forward-looking recommendations for shopper activation and growth. So with that, I'm going to let Charisse get started on the first example.
Yeah, so our first example focuses on Monday morning. This is the category manager's most hectic time of the week. They're trying to understand what happened, why it happened, and most importantly, what to do about it. By Monday afternoon, or perhaps on Tuesday, many times the category manager is still left trying to cobble together spreadsheets and emails to potentially answer the what and maybe even get a glimpse as to the why. Our research indicates that category managers typically spend 4 to 5 hours per week digging into data across multiple systems to try to understand what happened the prior week to inform decision-making and make the tactical course corrections that may be needed. Many of them don't have enough time to dig in the way they really need to, and this is one of the reasons why we see so many category managers fall prey to the last year syndrome. And then those other strategic projects or the collaboration efforts with CPGs, the things that are on the category manager's should-do list, those definitely take a back seat as the category manager struggles to carve out time for these types of other important activities that they want to get done and really should get done. So this is where AI comes in and can make a significant difference. In this disguised real example, the category manager is using an AI tool to help him understand what was happening with sales. When he logged in first thing on Monday morning, he was immediately able to understand that his sales were down 10.5% in his category, and it was in line with performance the last 12 weeks. Furthermore, right at his fingertips, he could tell that both on-shelf availability and his recent price changes, those were doing just fine. The real culprit was that promotions weren't performing up to par. They were a significant drag on sales, contributing a 16% decline in sales and 30% decline in units. All of this information would have taken him multiple hours to figure out. Instead, as soon as he logged in first thing Monday morning, the AI models had done all of the heavy analytical lifting for him. He was able to not only turn his attention to look at the ineffective promotions that were identified, but he was able to quickly get recommendations on how to make it better. So this example of streamlining Monday mornings definitely leads to a number of benefits, and you can see those. AI was able to help the category manager by providing prescriptive insights that not only told him what happened, but also highlighted why it happened and where to focus his attention. The category manager didn't have to spend time digging through countless reports to get insights, and he immediately had recommendations. And then far from replacing the category manager, AI complemented him, provided him with the intelligence he needed in the form of patterns, outliers, and opportunities, and it did it far more quickly than he could have assessed it himself. So this resulted in more time for this category manager to spend thinking about the business strategically and how to drive growth in his business versus just reacting to what he was seeing in the data.
All right, on to example number 2. Well, on a day-to-day basis, our category managers make decisions about pricing, about assortment, promotions, display, and many other things. For any given decision, a category manager will need to pull reports or run a query. Then likely they'll need to organize the data. They'll sort it, they'll cleanse it, they'll turn it every which way, and finally they'll get to analyzing and interpreting what they're seeing. It's quite an arduous process, as I'm sure many of you know. Most category managers just don't have the time to go through this exercise for every decision. There are frankly too many decisions and much too little time. So ultimately, for many, they end up relying on instinct and experience to ensure they do the right thing. Now, as we talked about earlier, with the unusual circumstances that we face these days, relying on your instinct or your years of experience, it just may not be the best way to go. But leveraging AI can absolutely help with this burden. So let's take a look at what they did. For this example, we're going to talk specifically about one of the 6 areas that Sharice mentioned earlier, promotions. We promised you in a promotion example. Category managers spend a substantial amount of time determining promotion strategy and then, of course, building the promotion plan, executing the promotions, and then finally tracking the results. In this example, we're looking at the impact of cannibalization when 2 similar promotions are running concurrently. We have a product which has a single pack and a multi-pack, and we want to understand the impact when you promote them both together. So we asked the question, how have multi-pack promotions affected single-pack promotions in Q3? So now you can see we got a very specific response. You can see the really specific information that AI returned here. We're able to quickly tell that the cross-promotion did have a cannibalization impact on the single packs, but it impacted the multi-packs more. And there was substantial cannibalization on the smaller multi-pack, that one that you see has a unit price of $5.71. When that one was promoted with the single pack, it was largely impacted. This is really insightful information for a category manager who's building a promotion plan. He or she could now make a much more informed decision about which promotions to run concurrently, and they can feel confident that their decision is ultimately going to maximize sales for the brand. To pull this information, do this analysis manually, or even with the help of BI, it would have taken several hours. With AI, it took minutes, just minutes. Imagine how many of these types of questions a category manager can get answered in one day. That would totally change the way they work. That way they would be able to spend much less time digging in the data and much more time thinking about the implications of the insights. So summing up the benefits of this example, with AI, what we found is the category managers were much more able to move from manual data pulls and manual analysis to having the technology at their fingertips, that technology which was always on. And it returned answers and insights in minutes rather than the hours it would have taken to get to the same conclusion with the use of reporting or with the use of BI. The insights are also deep and specific, so category managers have more time to do the real thinking. They have time to internalize what they've learned and to think about what it's really telling them about their customer. With better understanding of shopper behavior, it becomes much, much easier to truly drive shopper engagement.
Okay, so this next example is all about being able to detect changing shopper behavior and being able to do something about it. Many retailers, they'll use a traditional churn or decline model that identifies individual customers likely to make certain changes in shopping behavior. But given that these models focus on the individual, frequently they contain different or potentially contradictory behaviors when you try to draw conclusions across the customer base. Thus, it becomes difficult to think about the business more strategically or to understand what's happening more broadly across the business. It can also be difficult to know the drivers of what you are seeing. Retailers also typically have segmentations. They have these in place to understand groups of customers and how they're performing, and these segmentations can be very helpful. But they tend to be static, and they don't change as business conditions change. And then the other scenario we frequently see is that someone in the organization may have a hypothesis about changing customer behaviors, and they use this hypothesis to direct their analysis and try to prove or disprove what may be happening. This definitely works, but you actually need to know what to look for. And sometimes it can be like a needle, trying to find a needle in a haystack in order to come up with the right initial hypothesis. So in this example, AI was used to capture and understand detailed customer behavior by evaluating hundreds of thousands of customer transactions, and it really was unsupervised learning. The AI engine examined behaviors over a period of time, and no other direction was provided other than, of course, loading in lots of attributed data related to this time period. The engine identified a significant change over two time periods, early COVID and then what was happening in the summer. And what it found is that there was a population of homogeneous customers, and these customers were not aligned to any existing static segmentation. And these customers all exhibited similar shopping behavior that was resulting in a significant value shift, a value shift worth about 1% of total sales. And as we all know, the opportunity to drive a 1% improvement in sales across the store is a really big deal. So what was happening was that at the start of COVID, these customers started buying in perimeter categories that they weren't buying before, and they were buying premium items in these categories that were new to them. So in essence, they had upgraded to do a full shop. This was a byproduct of them consolidating their shopping trips as lockdowns were started to be enacted in the early days of COVID. These customers proceeded to consistently shop these new perimeter categories, and they did so until restrictions were eased in the summer. And then they started cross-shopping again, and they stopped buying these premium perimeter categories. They went right back to their old behaviors of just doing fill-in trips. And you could see this as the pattern emerged. We saw a drop in dollars per household, a drop in items per visit and basket size, And all of that, even though the customers started to come back a little more frequently as they did their fill-in trips. In addition, the AI engine was able to identify in which stores the pattern was most highly pronounced, and it was clear these were all premium stores, which made sense given these were premium high-value customers. And furthermore, we were able to identify against which specific competitors they were losing these customers. So this was less about predicting customer behavior and was more about bringing together multiple data sets to uncover a specific opportunity that's based on well-rounded insights that are much more actionable. You know, and this is a pertinent and timely example, but it happens all the time. Not COVID, but there could be a catalyst that's driving a change across a group of stores, but we don't know about the catalyst, and thus we don't pick up on the changing shopper behavior until it's way too late. But AI easily picks this up. So in this example, we've illustrated how AI, and more specifically unsupervised learning, was able to automatically identify a group of customers who were exhibiting the same pattern without requiring human interaction. So if you think about it, there's really no way an analyst could have quickly identified a unique, valuable cohort of customers that were making a meaningful shift in behavior. The retailer was able to accurately identify the variables that matter, which customers, which stores, which products, which competitors, and really understand the drivers of the changing behavior. So our client was able to confidently make customer-centric merchandising decisions thanks to a much more complete view of what was happening with changing shopper behavior.
Okay, thanks, Sharice. That one was really interesting. I'm going to take us home with example number 4. So example number 4, retailer-vendor meetings, a very common experience. I'm sure we've all been in many of them. In this example, we're going to talk specifically about preparing for a top-to-top meeting. Preparing for these meetings between a retailer and a vendor can require a small army to spend days pulling data and building slides. Often we find there's a lot of time spent looking at historical data, trying to understand what happened with the business and why it happened. Then we get to the meeting and we discuss the current state of affairs. How are things going and are we happy about it? There's likely going to be some comparison to what's going on competitively with other retailers and, of course, to other brands. But our meetings become presentations instead of discussions, and teams spend way too much time reviewing the past instead of planning for the future. Often we just don't spend nearly enough time identifying and digging into the opportunities. It's a miss both in our prep work for the meeting and, frankly, in the discussion itself. We need to shift the focus so that we spend more time discussing strategic initiatives, which will drive growth for both the CPG and the retailer. So let me show you an example of where we used AI to do just that. AI helps illuminate opportunities quickly, so the teams can collaborate and put their effort into developing strategies to capitalize on emerging trends instead of rehashing history. In this situation, the team was preparing for a top-to-top meeting, like I mentioned before, but unfortunately business had not been performing well. For this brand, sales weren't keeping pace with the category growth, not a good thing. However, with AI, they were able to look more deeply, and what they found was that the business had actually turned around in the last 4 weeks. So now the next natural question is, why did that happen? Excuse me. AI helped them see the root cause. Sales growth with the price-sensitive customer. It happened to be a category where price-sensitive customers made up a very large proportion of shoppers. And even beyond that, AI showed that price-sensitive customers were responding to specific promotions with specific price points. So in this case, you can see that that price point was right around $1. These promotions had helped them reach an important shopper for the category. Now, instead of the meeting discussion being focused on poor sales results, the conversation centered on how to leverage this finding to keep the price-sensitive customer in the category and with this particular vendor's brand. Over time, as the retailer and vendor continued to leverage AI further, the nature of not only their top-to-top meetings, but also their everyday conversations changed completely. It became about looking forward to drive growth instead of looking in the rearview mirror to figure out what had gone wrong. So to sum up the benefits, retailer-vendor meetings, they're always going to involve a review of the data. There will never be a shortage of charts and numbers in those meeting decks. But AI changes the conversation altogether. Instead of reviewing KPIs and discussing what they mean, we can now answer questions about the underlying performance drivers, and we can better understand why we're getting these specific results. AI makes it simple to understand what happened and why it happened. And once you have that, you can clearly see the opportunities and the path to your future successes. For retailer-vendor meetings, instead of vendors defending past performance and retailers judging that performance, the conversation can be collaborative and future-focused. AI illuminates areas for potential growth, and it helps take the conversation to a much, much more strategic level. With AI, top-to-top meetings can truly become about building plans to drive the business, and that's ultimately a win-win for both sides.
So thanks, Sonia. Good last example to bring us home. So I'll go ahead and wrap us up here. Hopefully you saw that through the 4 examples we just went through, that AI really was the foundation for each of them. However, what may not have been as evident is that these organizations already have the shopper embedded in their processes. This really ensured that the AI-enabled shopper insights had a home. Furthermore, they had done the work to help the organization through that change journey of using advanced analytics and AI as part of their decision-making. This enabled them to achieve that high impact value of bringing together the powerful combination of artificial intelligence with human intelligence really working together in a complementary nature embedded within their existing business processes. So that's it for today. Sonia and I would like to thank you for joining us in this discussion. We enjoyed having the opportunity to share our perspective and look forward to coming back and sharing more practical examples of using AI.